Hey guys, it's Kevin. We're responding to servant leaders. Question number one asks, how do you view the concept of servant leadership? Through the article and the video that we were provided, we learned that it's made up of three components: the servant, the steward, and the shepherd. The servant is uh, when you're serving the people around you and what their needs are, not necessarily what you want. The steward is facilitating learning and facilitating the people who you're serving and taking care of them. The shepherd is making sure that everybody understands that they're important and has a role within your team dynamic. I think that what my view of the concept of servant leadership is a little bit more associated with how the book describes it, where servant leadership can be viewed as a bottom up view of leadership, where maybe your athletes have a little bit more control and leadership within your team than you do, and you're not playing prison guard. So I think that it's less about what it is that the coach wants, and you have to change your thinking to what it is that is needed. What does everybody on the team want? So I think that's question number one. Number two, do you think it's possible as a coach to be a servant leader? I think that the video pretty much describes how it is. I think that the book gives a really good example of John Wooden, how he had his view of servant leadership as he didn't want to be the prison guard. He wanted to develop students and athletes' character, and he believed more in the process. And his view of success wasn't winning championships; it was developing the students and finding out what they needed and taking more of a mentor and facilitator in a servant leader role as a coach, and let the players kind of grow and let the outcomes take care of themselves. So I think that was something that really stuck out to me. Of course, I believe it within my own life, because it's kind of the way that the structure is in Japan, where we're a bunch of adults, and the Japan culture is such that everybody should have a say in what is happening in a classroom or a TV show or a team, and everybody gives presentations. Everybody has a role. There's a bunch of committees, and it's really a bottom up view of leadership where the head coach doesn't do a whole lot of talking. So I definitely believe that it's possible. Question number three: what are some practical ways that you could play this out in sport? I think some practical ways are, like I was just describing with my team, where you have a bunch of committees, you have leadership committees where you, as a coach, talk to your players about what you want them to do and how you want them to do it, and then they can pass along the information, and you can not try to micromanage your team. I think in a small sport like basketball, like we saw in the film, you can kind of have an oversight of all the players on your team because you have 11 players that you're managing, whereas in a football team you have 110 guys. It's not very realistic. So you have to have more people involved, and you have to have more trust in people to um, take control and take over leadership roles, and talk to those people and have communication with a lot of people to figure out what it is that the team needs. Um, and I think that some other practical ways of doing this, of executing this, are having your players give presentations or give lessons on the coaching the way that our team does. I think putting players in charge of some of the practice plans and the conditioning, where if they feel like they've put in a hard day's work at practice and they don't need to condition as much, you might want to respect that. More often than not, students will, or athletes will, try to push themselves beyond what the coach would make them do if you put it in their own hands. I think other ways that you can apply this is just by taking more of of a an approach to your team that is not driven off of success the way John Wooden was, but more off of developing players, developing them within their personal lives. Number 4, what are some benefits and challenges of taking on such a role? I think some of the benefits are when you give people the chance to grow and develop as a person, as a leader, as an individual on the team. They feel more connection with the guys on their team. They have a stronger bond, and it means something more to them because they're more involved. They're not just a participant, but they're actively trying to make it happen. So I think you can develop a stronger team. You can develop more growth amongst all the athletes that you're coaching. And I think that some of the challenges of taking on such a role are giving the keys to the bus to the wrong driver, putting some of the leadership roles on people that might not necessarily want leadership roles or might not necessarily be ready to take on such a role. I think we have to make sure that you know exactly who you want to be talking to your team and who you want to assume leadership roles, because if it's not the right person, I think sometimes you're better off taking more of a leadership role until you can lead those people the right way to take on such a role. I think, like you see in the example of the video, he has a certain amount of guys that are working really hard, and they might be one and done, but it also went on to state that he's pushing a lot of these guys to come back next year because they might not be ready. So it's about figuring out what they need and how you can help them acquire certain skills, and then let them apply it and let them take over the role so that they can grow more than just following in suit and being regimented. So I thought it was a really interesting concept. Obviously, I know about it. I've experienced it in my high school days, where I had a high school coach where we approached him and we wanted to take more of the leadership. We wanted to run a different kind of offense, and he just wasn't going to hear it. So I think it's about why we're getting into the business in the first place. It's not about, I think, winning. It's about helping people develop in school and in life and athletically and emotionally. So thought it was great. Thanks, everybody. Hope you're having a good week.